How's it going, everyone? A very interesting story regarding PlayStation and Bungie, and it looks like, as far as live service titles on PlayStation goes, it's going to be continuing as Bungie Creative Studios is joining Sony PlayStation to support its live service games while continuing to work on Destiny and Marathon. I think a lot of people have their various opinions on Bungie, Destiny, and the future of Bungie as a whole, the future of PlayStation certainly, but if I view this from Sony's lens, PlayStation's lens, not what I want out of them, but PlayStation's lens of them wanting to create live service games and having them be as successful as possible, this makes a lot of sense. So as noted on thegamepost.com, Bungie's creative team is officially transitioning to PlayStation Studios, continuing its support for Bungie's projects like Destiny and the upcoming Marathon. The move follows a wave of changes at the company, including recent layoffs, and aims to enhance PlayStation's growing focus on live service gaming. The former Bungie creative team will now play a key role in establishing a new creative division at PlayStation Studios, focused on accelerating the development of upcoming live service games. Bridget O'Neill, previously Bungie's senior director of creative studios, announced the move on LinkedIn. Today was my team's last day at Bungie, but not our last day working on Destiny. Bungie Creative Studios is joining the PlayStation Studios to build the foundation for a creative team that can support all PlayStation live service games. As a part of this move, I am now taking on a new role as Senior Director of Creative at PlayStation Studios. This opportunity to share our experience working on Bungie titles with other studios that are building live service games is so exciting. Live service is hard and comes with a unique set of challenges, so with PlayStation and Bungie working together, we will be able to give a huge jump start on development for new games as they enter this super competitive market. A lot to assess there. So first of all, I think anybody that thought overnight, and maybe I was a little bit too optimistic for my own selfish wants out of PlayStation, that Sony was just gonna give up on live service gaming. Obviously, that is not the case. And if you're entering the live service market as a conglomerate like PlayStation and Sony, where you've got tons of irons in the fire, I assure you guys, Sony very much went into this initiative to make a lot of live service games, to have Naughty Dog tasked with a live service game, to acquire Firesprite and have them work on a live service game, to greenlight Fair Game, to have Guerrilla work on a live service game. Having so many live service games in development instead of what they were known for, those big budget AAA single player games, they very well knew that some of them were going to crap the bed, that some of them were going to end up like Concord, because it is impossible to have every live service game pop off. However, the goal with it is not to have every single one pop off. The goal of it is, let's throw as much crap at the wall and hope something sticks. And if something ultimately does stick, if 2 games stick, oh baby, we're riding that gravy train all night long. At the end of the day, with live service, the value that it could ultimately bring at the end of the tunnel, if you can get something to pop off, is ridiculous. It is orders of magnitude greater than the games that I actually want could ever hope to be, which is unfortunate to think about, but it is the reality. If you have a game that people are going to spend money on year-round or for years and years, it could ultimately be far more beneficial and far more lucrative. And yes, as much as people want to crap on Bungie, the reality of Bungie is Destiny has been around for a long time, and think what you want of Destiny, it has been a revenue generator for a long time. Bungie taking what they know about the live service market and applying it to PlayStation's works and the games they are working on, I understand why that makes sense. However, from my vantage point, I just don't want Sony to be doing that. I want Sony to be doing what they do best, and I think this big push into the live service realm ultimately will not pan out for them, because they are creating live service games that ultimately people don't want. They greenlit Concord. Game is an absolute flop, hundreds of millions of dollars gone. Last of Us multiplayer project, hundreds of millions of dollars sunk, it didn't pan out, it's not even gonna be released, and I think that was the best case scenario because Naughty Dog is a studio that has a reputation. Nobody cares about Firesprite, nobody cares about the Concord developers in terms of their perception. Concord being an L isn't going to be a black mark on a studio that was incredibly well known. Nobody cares. Naughty Dog releasing Factions and it not being good, that would leave a stain on Naughty Dog, and you don't want that on Naughty Dog. I think it's best canceling that. If Naughty Dog, for whatever reason, was working on Concord and it wasn't a revealed property yet, I would have canceled that as well, just to avoid Naughty Dog losing its perception as one of the top-tier game studios and one of the elite game studios, I would argue, you know, based on their recent output of releasing nothing and Last of Us Part 2 not being as universally praised. I mean, Naughty Dog from the late 2000s, early 2010s, I feel like washes Naughty Dog from today, but that's my humble opinion. The reality is they are desperate to have live service games pop off, and for people like me that love games like a Ghost of Tsushima, that love games like an Infamous, that love games like a Uncharted, that ultimately means we're not going to get those games as consistently as has been abundantly apparent. 2023, you had one major first-party release. 2024, you had, if you want to throw Astrobot, one major first-party release, but I wouldn't even call Astrobot major. You had 0 major first-party releases. 2025, Ghost of Yotai. I'm interested to see how that turns out. I know there's a healthy level of skepticism, to say the least, in regards to that game, but you hope it turns out well. But the other big title that's probably going to come out in 2025 is effing Fair Game. Like, that's what we're working with at this point, and it would be great if we could get to a territory where PlayStation is dropping at least 2 major first-party titles, which they've done in the past. 2018, God of War and Marvel's Spider-Man. 2020, you had Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Demon Souls. I guess Bluepoint wasn't acquired at that point, so I can't say it was first party, but you had Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales as well that year. It's just, man, the output from Sony, because of this live service push, is lacking greatly, and it's going to continue lacking. Either it ends up popping off, or they just drop flop after flop after flop, and they'll ultimately realize, okay, we can't continue with this. Now, fair play to Sony. Helldivers 2 was a gigantic success, but I would argue Helldivers 2 never gave away the essence of what Arrowhead was as a studio, and never lost track of what Helldivers was supposed to be. I feel like PlayStation is losing track of what brought PlayStation to the dance, and that was those big narrative-driven single-player games. It's nice to have your live service games, and I'm not saying the live service game entirely, or live service as a idea, is terrible. I think people want multiplayer games out of PlayStation, but when you look at Killzone, that wasn't really a live service game. It was a multiplayer game that had some DLC. That's not live service. What live service is, a game you could monetize for years and years and years, and it's sad to see the days of the Killzones are dead and gone, and now what you have is games like Concord that try to release these monetized skins and so on and so forth, and it's a different business model entirely, but it's a business model that can work. It's been proven to work. However, what is always going to be a shortcoming of the live service model, and something that cannot be defeated, is the fact that there is a limited amount of time in the world. Everybody has a limited amount of time, and the live service model encourages the consumer, or wants the consumer to spend hours upon hours, day after day, month after month, year after year, hours and hours on top of the money spent. That's just not feasible. All of these games can't coexist, whereas the alternative, a Marvel Spider-Man 2, is a game that's created, you play it in a vacuum for 20 to 25 hours, you spend your $70, and then you move on to your life, and then you move on to the next game. That's a healthy cycle for gaming, but live service doesn't follow that model. It doesn't follow that cycle. It follows, they want you invested into that game for eons. They want you invested in spending money for years and years, and ideally, I think most of them are realistic in that, okay, hopefully we can get the money out of them for 6 months, a year, and hopefully we'll have a core audience that'll be invested for a few years and we can monetize them, so on and so forth. It's something where, just based on the standpoint of there's a limited amount of time, not every game can be successful because they are such a commitment. But that is going to do it for me. Let me know your guys' thoughts. I think if you were expecting live service and PlayStation to go away overnight, that's not going to be happening. Guerrilla's still going to drop their Horizon title. Naughty Dog, they're working on their next single-player game, but I do feel like the development of that was stunted based on them doing this multiplayer game. And Guerrilla, they're doing Horizon multiplayer before they're doing Horizon 3. I think Horizon 3 is going to be a ways away, which is little bit of a bummer to say the least. But that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching. And let me also mention, this live service push is compounded with the development cycles of games just getting so much longer. So when you're looking at a live service flop, that could really make the turnaround time for a studio's game incredibly lengthy. I don't know when Naughty Dog's next title is going to come out, but if we're talking 2026, 2027 for that game, that would have been 6 or 7 years after Last of Us Part 2, and that's a long, long time. And every time a live service game from a notable publisher or a development studio comes out and they've pushed back on their typical title, man, that's a little bit worrisome for somebody like me that wants to play Horizon 3 before, you know, I pass away. But that's gonna do it for me. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.